I mean, the hooks, the vocals, and song structures are so out of 1983. You're going to be clutching your Cabbage Patch Kids. Okay. For $3.33 a month, you just get me doing this and everything. 1981, Pretenders 2, which is better than the debut. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. What's up, bro? You know, I've been working out hardcore. I'm really not buff, but still freak on the whole seance thing. High five, buddy. Dig your pad. It's really nature.
The Hell Freaks were originally formed.
The Hell Figs were originally very delicious.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
I have a Let's Wine and Judge People, but it's not actually wine. It's just seltzer water.
Or so they say. Well, we're episode, I think we're at episode 167 right now. Actually. Yeah. That's what it seems like to me.
It's been a very long season.
Quite indeed, yeah.
But that's okay. We make the rules here.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So subscribe to our channel. Hit that button.
Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a show and you always get our updates when our new show comes out.
That's right.
We keep getting better and better, folks.
Yes, we do. We do. So what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. We went out for sushi last night.
We did. We had a good time.
We had a great time, but we let Mark's client who was taking us out order. And
my vendor, it was a vendor of ours. Yeah.
I know they told us what it was, but there's that little bit of a language barrier. I had no idea what the hell we ate. It was all wonderful.
I didn't want to be bothered with it. I was just like, well, just whatever you think is good.
Sushi, it's good.
It's sushi, it's
and they had this curried scallop dish that was amazing.
It was so good. Yeah.
No idea what it was called or how to. What was that one stuff at the beginning? That first dish we got, it was really tasty, or the avocado. No idea what the hell it was. I could never order it again. I'd have to describe it.
Was it with like the starter thing that we had?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
No, we just.
It's a BYOB sushi place, and boy, we have a good time.
And they really do well with it. I mean,
and we beat a lot of B. We did actually.
They put your beers on ice for you and come over and open them.
Pretty cool.
Give you glasses.
I did feel kind of like she was gatekeeping the bottle opener a little bit, because like whenever it was time for another one, you had to find her. It was like it's sitting there taunting you,
I guess as well as BYOB, you have to BYOO.
Yeah.
When you're an opener.
Yeah, we'll have to do that next time. I'll have like 3 of them.
On your belt.
Yeah. So I was thinking about something that we've all grown up with. It's sort of like straight up Main Street in American culture, but I don't understand why we still do it.
Every Thanksgiving.
Do we still need to have parades in the year 2023? I mean, are there that many children with the perverse desire to learn how to play a clarinet and march in unison while wearing the dorkiest uniform ever created?
I can remember every year with the Thanksgiving Day parade,
Mm-hmm.
my parents encouraging me to watch it, and I didn't want to watch it. And I did the same thing to my children. Why? I don't know. I was like, look, the parade's on.
It's like a disease.
Less.
So my theory is that a parade is actually an exhibition for people with lots of bad hobbies, okay? Say you couldn't make the basketball team, so you wasted hours learning to march and play a bass drum in a super tall hat. Say you spent a lot of time learning twirling a ribbon festively, or twirling a baton. Let's say you spent a lot of time fixing up your Model T and you need a place to drive it. Let's say you spent way too much money on that replica Civil War uniform. Where can you wear something like that?
Right, outside of the battle reenactments that are 3 times a year.
Would you like to stand on the back of a flatbed and do a clogging dance with the rest of the Rotary Club?
Maybe some Irish dance. Oh, how about some square dancing?
Any type of dance, yes.
And
of course, if you spent hours and hours making a float completely out of fauna and foliage to look like the lagoon in The Little Mermaid.
Those things in the Rose Parade in California. How many flowers had to die? And they actually say, oh, we're a nonprofit. No kidding. That had to take hours.
The parade, a venue to show off these items. That's what it is. Yeah. These people have no life, and we're going to march down the street and show you what we've been doing with our time.
I tell you, at least with the Rose Parade that takes a lot of time and talent, or even the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The floats are always my favorite because they may or may not get away. But
No, I'm talking about the Ames, Iowa, annual 4th of July parade. Not the professional parades, the professional bad hobbies parades.
Even some of those, but I could never watch the Macy's Day Parade. Here in Baltimore, we have 2 rival high schools that play every year. On Thanksgiving Day, I usually put that on. I'll be truthful. But, I sat through, I think the worst parade I ever saw was in a tiny, tiny town in upstate New York called Clinton.
There you go.
There was a grand display of almost, I think, all of their emergency response vehicles, lights going, pinwheels adorning, streamers blowing.
We spent hours waxing the fire truck. Where can we show this off? Parade.
Yeah, I hope they never have an actual emergency during any of this.
We'll get there when we're done showing off the shiny paint.
And outside of that, it was like people cheering tractors. Woo! I think your tractor's sexy.
I spent a lot of money restoring that John Deere. We're going to show it off. It's the Model T concept, I'm telling you.
A few horses, the local, beauty queen, the dairy cow queen, waving quite royally.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, people driving old cars, like you said, honking their horn.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah.
The Aruga.
Yeah. Everyone was almost falling asleep. I swear to God. And we got there like an hour in advance to seal your spot, to see this scintillating degree of entertainment.
Bring those folding chairs. Yeah.
Then there came the politicians who were throwing Tootsie Rolls into the crowd to, I guess, gain votes in favor. That was the highlight right there.
Yeah.
Scrambling to grab your Tootsie Roll off the pavement.
Interesting. So I thought we'd add some color to the show. So
we already have.
Let's talk about colors here for a minute. I was thinking about this. So a green light means go, but you can also find yourself green with envy. If you're good in the garden, they say you have a green thumb. But if you're not feeling well, one could say you've been green around the gills. How can a color represent so many different metaphorical ideas? Then there's what every immigrant in the United States craves, the green card, which doesn't really fit in with money or envy or sickness. Suffice to say, it's not easy being green.
Yeah, that shade of limelight always wrecks a girl's complexion. So maybe it's a shade thing.
Yeah, it can be.
But I mean, is red more of an angry color? Because then there's the lady in red, but I don't think she was vexed or cross. She just seemed to be passionate and beautiful and admired. Yeah. Like red can definitely present, Valentine's Day, hearts, passion. But if you see red, angry. My father used to say that I made him see red on quite more than one occasion.
Then there's the red tape to cut through, which denotes bureaucracy of all things. If you're in the red, you're losing money, which is the opposite of being red hot. Then you have code red. Code red is of utmost concern. We read code red. Things have gotten serious, Mr. President.
Yeah, well, it's also, I want to say, maybe it's shades. Because every girl likes a good blush and a rouge. Also, in China, the wedding dresses are red because white is the color of sorrow. Red is the color of happiness. Go figure it out. I don't know. But when you go out with your friends and really have a good time, what do? You paint the town red.
Paint the town red.
Right? And then, I don't know, I think red may be even more convoluted than green.
Yep.
Red could be the color of blood, which isn't necessarily a good thing, unless you're giving blood to save lives. And again, I guess the grass is always greener on the other side.
Absolutely, yes. Now, yellow is usually associated with cowardice. You yellow dog, you, unless you're following the yellow brick road, which doesn't lead to a collection of cowards, as far as I know.
Munchkins.
Yellow lights mean slow down, although some people floor it when they see one. if you rent a truck and you're too short, I can't imagine who this would happen to. You can sit on the yellow pages to help solve the problem.
I don't think that Tony Orlando was getting us to tie a yellow ribbon because he was frightened.
No, I don't.
Yellow is actually there, a color of hope. And I wonder why Texans love a yellow rose so much.
I'll just say, if we all lived in a submarine together, I wonder what color it would be. Okay, why don't we talk about the interview today? Our feature interview this week is part 2 of our extensive discussion with singer-songwriter Rob Lamothe of the River Dogs and Cross Country Driver. Important note, this is the second part, and it's an even more interesting than part 1. We get into Rob's side projects over the years. We talk about his work with Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy, Lisa Wynn, Craig Erickson, and a host of others. So stay tuned for that. I thought this was a little more intimate, and we got to ask him our 5 questions.
And there was a lot of geek out, so there might.
Oh yeah, absolutely shocking here. So why don't you introduce the song?
All right, this is from the River Dogs, and this is from their California album. This is The Revolution Starts Tonight. That reminds me of some clickbait I clicked on.
What?
It said that the sun was going through these terrible solar flares and they were going to impact Earth, but when you clicked on it, they're actually kind of harmless. I was like, I can't believe I clicked on
clickbait. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. We just finished uploading to great labor a 2-part blind beer taste test. I don't know why it took so long to upload, but it's there now, people.
You have to check out the real star of the show, and that would be our calico Annabelle Lee. She completely upstages Mark.
Yep. Jumps up and demands to be masked. So, again, how much would you pay for this? $6.66 a month, and you're getting all this bonus content that you can't see anywhere else. This week, I'm going to post my review of Metallica's just released album, 72 Seasons. Is it any good? Does it rival the old stuff? Is it microwaved to self-destruct? I'll have to log in and see. And just because I'm a swell guy, I'll go ahead and give you a ranking of all the Metallica records as a bonus. So don't miss it. Again, exclusive content. Patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcast. It is crammed with extra Mark and Stace.
So it's only $6.66 a month. You could go down to the lower level, which is $3.33 a month. We could use the help. We just actually purchased an actual camera and set up so we can start taking this on the road a little bit. Maybe getting some more live things in there.
For $3.33 a month, you just get me doing this and everything.
And I'm trying to talk him into doing some green screen. So we have lots of ways to expand. Would love to have the extra help to get us there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So it's been a while. I think it's time to turn to some Swedish wisdom. It's time for an Ask Jens. So take it away, Jens Kemgren.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back too far, but I was always curious what happened with Vulture Cavalry. How come you only did the one album? I always liked the record so much.
Yeah. Personally, I was like a bit. I was not so happy with the album actually. How the sound came out.
Okay.
I wanted to maybe work a bit more on the bass sound and maybe some more effects and stuff on the guitars. But we made it quite plain and very kind of dry. And I think and the songs. I actually when we recorded it, those songs were written in quite a short matter of time. So I mean, I wasn't really that experienced in writing music back then. So now it's like 20 years ago. So
yeah, I like the evolution of the bands you've been in. The Vulture Cavalry was almost like a stoner band, kind of similar rock. That reminds me of like Metal Hippie Blood, some of those kind of bands, And then
Absolutely.
Danger reminds us like a Shotgun Messiah kind of thing,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Early 80s maybe.
Yeah, and the Firebombs reminds me of like Helicopters, Backyard Babies kind of thing. So all good things,
Yeah,
but different.
Yeah, it's what can I say? It's like a mirror for all the bands I've been looking up to all my days, and I mean all those bands are in the lyrics and the melodies and everything. So I guess difficult to explain, but they are there, everybody.
Years ago, I was interviewing Dragon from Backyard Babies, and he had just put out an album called Tinnitus, and I said,
Tinnitus.
"Yeah," and I said, "Do you have tinnitus?" And he didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. He goes, finally, he goes,
I'll be right back.
"Okay, I've got a good tone," and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
all right, next question."
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have Stacey turn the lights off for this one.
Oh my.
Inspired by, we've been really into the Netflix show The Sandman lately. And the premise of the show is that Morpheus, the god of sleep, is actually conjured in a satanic ritual in an attempt to capture death. And by an error, Dream becomes imprisoned for years and years, right?
Like 100.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about...
And everybody's dreams get screwed up.
Yeah, conjuring is more of an art than a science, and it's very easy for things to get screwed up. So I had this vision, okay? So Stace and I got the 3 candles burning.
And the bird going.
The bird going. Got a pentagram drawn. We call out the spell that somehow gets screwed up. We say,
Time we called up the Steve Miller Band.
"We rejoice in thee, Dark Lord. Hear our words and come forth. Viam Hersi Adoramus." And then it gets cold in the room. You can feel a presence, but something doesn't sound quite right. Then we hear a voice. "What's up, bro? You know, I've been working out hardcore. I'm really not buff, but still freak on the whole seance thing. High five, buddy. Dig your pad. It's really nature." And I look at Stace and go, "My God, we conjured Pauly Shore." You hear him in the background going, "Cool, bro, nature. Vamos Apalayo, buddy. Let's check out a buff Billy Idol vid, dude. Hey, you got any snacks?" That's called Necromancy Happens. So Stace also had some good ideas about some of our conjuring errors.
What if, in a tragic mistake, someone left a mop bucket in the summoning circle
He's the mopper. Yeah.
and you ended up conjuring Mr. Clean? You'd be like, "God damn it! Who left the mop bucket in the goddamn summoning circle?"
Is he straight? Is he gay? With the earring?
He's a pirate, I think.
Is he a
Tight white
pirate?
shirt. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I just know it always smells fresh when he's around. So,
There's a lot of winking.
yeah.
Maybe if you sing his name twice in a row, it will reverse the spell. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. No, it doesn't work. He's
about-
just winking. Fuck.
How about the other one?
Or what if you say a word with a lisp
Mm-hmm.
and you accidentally end up with RuPaul
Oh, okay. Yeah.
going, "Good luck and don't fuck it up. Oh, too late, honey." And get the love or leave it in here, team, because the 1920s are calling and they want their crushed velvet wallpaper back.
And I like how diverse we're being by including RuPaul. Okay? So let's play another song now
Yes, please.
from Cross Country Drivers, Risen. This one features Vivian Campbell on guitar.
Love that song.
Okay, let's talk about Home Chef.
So our sponsor this week is Home Chef. I have tried many services. I won't name all of them, but this by far gives you the best variety of meals and the best ideas. For instance, we just made, although I did throw in a little veggetti, but that's just me. It was a pork chop with broccoli. They have such great ideas. I remember as a young housewife, I would pore over the cookbooks, make a list of everything I needed, go to the store, quite possibly forgetting a crucial ingredient, having to go back. There's none of that with Home Chef. You pick your meals, everything comes to your door. Every meal has all the produce, spices, cheeses, pre-done in a bag marked for what it is. Your meat comes separately. They had us today make a pork chop. You just browned it up while the broccoli roasted in the oven. You added bacon and cheese to this broccoli. And then on top of this pork chop, they had you make a sauce of Dijon mustard apricot preserves, and lemon juice.
I believe the key ingredient was marmalade.
It was absolutely outstanding. And you can go on and pick the meals that you like. We got about 3 meals complete, and we have leftovers from today, shipped to your door, depending on what kind of meats and things that you want.
Yep.
They have desserts if you want to add those in. And everything gets overnighted with ice. Fantastic ideas. And you don't have to worry about forgetting an ingredient.
Yeah. So click the link in the show notes below. And what's the promotion?
You get $20 off your first box with Home Chef.
Okay. I believe it's time for collectorbation. What shall we talk about today? Well, I thought I'd give the 101 stuff a little bit of a break because these are 2 of my favorite records of all time. We're going to start with this one from 1980, The Pretenders debut.
He talks about Chrissie Hynde a lot.
Such a bitch. But oh god, I mean, look at that. I love the iconic back cover. Her, they're obviously just spitballing. But anyway, so I figured rather than you've had enough of my yakking, I'm going to read you a little bit from Lemmy's book about Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders. So let me find
That'll be good.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Let's see what Lem has to say. Bless you, my son, even though you're an asshole. Here we go. Okay. We were managed quite a while by this guy called Tony Secunda. I met him through Chrissie Hynde, who I'd known for a number of years. Chrissie used to be a journalist for the New Musical Express, and I was always very impressed by the fact that she had no tits to speak of, but she could play very good guitar. She was very good indeed. She was squatting in Chelsea when I knew her, and I used to go around there and jam with her all night. Before she had the Pretenders, she was in a band called the Moors Murderers. That was an extremely poor taste. So for Lemmy to say it was in poor taste, it must have been in poor taste. They all wore black pointed hoods when they played. Very bad taste indeed. Luckily, they never had a hit, or we probably would have never seen Chrissie's face. She would have had to wear that black hood for the rest of her professional career.
Yeah, it actually had me look up the Moors Murderers because I was, kind of unfamiliar with this.
Yeah. Which I was shocked because she's a queen of serial killer knowledge.
Right. But, it was 63 and the murders took place between 1963 and 65.
Mm-hmm.
It was a man and a woman, which is kind of not unheard of, but more unusual. They're kind of were like natural born killers, but they killed children and also sexually assaulted
Extremely
them.
poor taste.
So I can't imagine.
Name your band after it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's get on the radio. That's great. All right, anyway, so let's play a Pretender song. This one is a rocker mystery achievement. All right, Collectorbation 2, 1981, Pretenders 2, which is better than the debut. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This may be this is like my therapy album. Like I go to it when I'm in like the fetal position just to hear her say, "You don't listen, do you, asshole?" Yeah.
Her little Dirty Harry montage.
Yeah. So here, I'll read you a little bit. This book is terrible. It is packed with nothing but her weird hippy dippy philosophies. I covered it in the first season. But I did find a little bit about Pretenders 2 that I'll read you. We went back in the studio with Chris Thomas, a little less the fresh-faced bunch than before. We'd taken a battering in all the obvious ways, a bit ravaged from all the touring, but it was still early days and we wanted it. We recorded some songs in Paris, among them Message of Love and Talk of the Town. I felt at home in Paris. The management was so desperate to get a record out that they jumped the gun by releasing an EP of the stuff we were working on for the second album. Americans had never heard of EPs, which were common in the UK. We released it in the US and called it Extended Play to let the Yanks know that it wasn't an album, it was a mistake. They thought we'd gone soft in the head by releasing a much anticipated second album, Extended Play, with only a handful of songs on it. We were doing a TV show in Germany, and Van Halen was on the same bill. Jimmy and Eddie Van Halen talked guitars all afternoon, boring the pants off anyone in the room. Jimmy was so excited to have this new guitar slinging buddy that he insisted Stan get the organizers to arrange a hall, somewhere they could jam later that night. James Honeyman Scott is an incredible guitar player, or was. It seemed like Eddie had been guarded by his brother and his band and didn't get off the leash very often, so he was excited as Jimmy for the idea of a jam. We were all hanging around the suite in the hotel when we overheard Eddie on the phone with his wife saying something that would elevate him in the eyes of the band for a definitive catchphrase content. No, I'm not having a good time. Isn't that great? Speaking of which, bad boys get spanked. You don't listen to you, asshole. Let's introduce the interview with Rob Lamothe, part 2. Rarely do we connect so quickly with someone, and this turned out to be great. So here it is.
All right. So I don't know if you've watched the part where we play our game, but I have.
I have not.
Uh-huh.
Oh, geez. I have not.
I have questions 1 through 100. So I want you to pick 5 random numbers, which will correspond to questions for you.
Yeah.
I love this so far.
Yeah.
55. 64. 14. 30.
One more.
Is that 4?
Yeah.
One more. Let's say 5.
All right. Alan Averill says, fuck middle age. I got to put my glasses on to see. 55. Do you speak a foreign language?
Well, I learned Spanish growing up. I took Spanish in school and spent a lot of time in Mexico, a lot of trips to Mexico. I'm actually going to Mexico on the 22nd. And no, I'm not fluent at Spanish. Like the last time I was, well, when I was in Spain, actually, 6 or 7 years ago, it's not the same language, but a lot of it kind of came back to me and I understood what people were saying and I could speak a bit, but not, again, it's not the exact same language, but I actually understood some stuff, but that's not being fluent.
Probably enough to be able to get to the bathroom, right?
How great is
I can get a
food down
coffee, I can get a beer, I
there?
can
The food
get
in
to the
Mexico is
bathroom.
so great. I used to love going for work. Oh my God. I ate everything down there. So good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
All right. Number 64. Share a time you received the compliment that you appreciated.
Not counting
Well-
the show because I've given you about 14. So
Well, I was gonna say it's so amazing, it's so out of the blue to speak to the two of you. I get an email, hey, will you do this podcast? From I think that was from the guys. I think they're in New Jersey. They do
right.
some of
Freeman.
the publicity for yeah, exactly. Do some of the publicity for Frontiers and probably lots of other things. But yeah, and then just I've done interviews with people that had no idea what I've done in my life,
Wow.
musically, which is okay. It's almost like you wish it's nicer if someone does a little homework. And obviously you, Mark, obviously, we're there in the beginning days and kind of know some of this. And then you did some homework. Obviously the two of you have done some homework, which I appreciate. But so that's nice, I guess. Gosh, every day I have an amazing life. I really do. It's this small, beautiful, amazing life. And the thing that people, even if I don't get a compliment, maybe a verbal compliment, like the kids next door like me, like there's 6 kids next door. And they like me. They come and tell me stuff. This morning I drove one of the neighbor kids to school, and she's 6 years old, and her mom wasn't feeling well, so I drove her to school. And then she likes me. She tells me stuff. She's like, I want to tell you about my birthday. And I was like, okay, tell me. And she met the day she was born. She wanted to tell me like a story.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't know. I take that as like, her mom trusts me, to get her kid to school safely, and this young lady just thinks I'm awesome and wants to tell me stories and tell me about her friends at school and tell me about her, they have like pajama day and they have wild hair day and crazy hat day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Mark?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Crazy hat. Yeah.
So And you know, and I'm complimented because like a young person wants to tell me stuff. I think that's kind of amazing, frankly. Yeah.
That's great. All right. So talking about doing homework, I used to hate Mark Maron's show because he would have artists on there that I loved, and he would ask the most ham-fisted, not prepared questions.
Right.
But without going into too much detail, he did do one thing I really liked. He interviewed Lemmy and Richard Thompson. You know Richard Thompson, the guy from the guitar player from Fairport Convention, right?
Yes.
We're talking about when Jimi Hendrix first played in England, his first show, or his first couple of shows, right?
Right.
And Richard Thompson says he went to the early show and it was amazing because Clapton was there and the Who was there. And it was just all these people were just so taken aback by this guitarist that could flip it over and play it left-handed, play it right-handed, all these things, right? And then he interviews Lemmy, who was a roadie, obviously, for Hendrix. And he asks Lemmy, did you go to that show? And Lemmy says, no, all the birds were at the second show. And I'm like, that is so fucking perfect.
That's so rock
Lemmy
and
had
roll.
the priorities. Yeah.
That's so rock and roll. I love it.
It's just, it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. So all his other stuff, I didn't really like that much. Like he would have people I liked on, but he would ask, it was obvious he was kind of just flying by the seat of his pants, but that was
Right.
Yeah.
All right, number 14. What is your favorite sport or team?
My favorite sport, I've got two. Surfing is one of them. I grew up in Southern California, and I was born in La Jolla, California, which is right on the water. I went to high school there. You know, grew up there and went to high school there, and I just love surfing. Kind of everyone did it, but it's an amazing sport. And now I watch like these competitions, and I watch like podcasts of surfers, some of the best surfers in the world, and they're just sitting in their living room having a conversation. A couple of the best surfers in the world, they're just chatting away, right? Telling funny stories. There's that, and then there's cycling, like road race cycling, like the Tour de France. I love that stuff. And now I can watch, I love to ride my bicycle, but now I can watch all the races in Europe, which is really fun for me. Or just, watch a little podcast afterwards, the highlights. And people are creating compelling content and telling stories in their living rooms. I don't know if you guys are in a living room right now, but looks like a rec room or something.
It's like
with
a
the
basement.
posters in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
We tried to record upstairs. It was horrible, so we ended up moving it.
It turns out that a room that's really good for recording music is not good for recording a podcast for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
Furniture to absorb the sound.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know either at the beginning.
So it was like too much sound bouncing around the walls.
Echoes and yeah.
Oh,
Echoes,
yeah.
hums, noises,
Jingling.
buzzes. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because this sounds great. I mean, I'm
it's
sure
been a learning curve. It really has.
Yeah.
Our basement now looks like NBC Studios, but it's fine.
Oh my God, the cables. It's just crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we're up to number 30. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Well, as I've gotten older, I used to be very much a night owl, but I'm an early bird now. I mean, I set my alarm for 8, but I'm usually up sometimes a little before 7, for sure by 7:30. So to me, that's an early bird. But I like to get up. I have my oatmeal with bananas and blueberries in it, and my beautiful freshly ground coffee. And I make a cup for my wife, and I take that into her, and she sleeps in later than I do.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't bring it to her, that's grounds for divorce. Get it?
Oh, I set you up with that one, didn't I? That's pretty good, Mark. That's actually pretty good. I gotta hand it to you on that one. I'm gonna remember that. You can steal it.
You can steal it.
I can use that. But yeah, I like to be up and before I work, because I spend my day like talking to broadcasters and funders, and I do a lot of paperwork for this film and television production company. I'm kind of that administrative side. And I enjoy it. It's actually super fun for me after all these years. But I like to have like about an hour before I do any work. And I like to just kind of catch up on the news, catch up on my favorite podcasts. I got a bunch. I'm subscribed to yours now.
Thank you.
And so yeah, that's what I like to do. So I do get up a bit earlier than I used to. And then by 10:30, I'm done, man. I'm so tired. 10:30 at night, I mean.
Oh yeah,
Honestly.
10:30.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate getting up, but I work for a doctor, and our first patient is 7:45, so I gotta frickin'
Ooh.
get in there. And
Yeah. And you got to be like on. You're not like easing into it. You got to be like ready to work.
sometimes I'm walking the door at 7:30. They're behind me in the hallway as I'm unlocking stuff.
Oh
I'm like, okay, hi.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll be right there.
Oh no.
All right, number 5. What OCD habits do you have?
Gosh. I've really studied my habits and my routines over the years. And I'm not diagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder, if that's what we're talking about.
Okay, right.
That's but here's the thing I am obsessed about is songs and writing. And my daughter and I, she's 26 now, and almost every Wednesday, and we did it yesterday, I pick her up at her place. She lives about 55 minutes away. I pick her up. We go get like a drink, and we go for a drive, and then maybe I take her to go do some grocery shopping. Yesterday we went and bought a puzzle at Walmart. She likes to do puzzles.
Okay.
That's how she relaxes. That's how she meditates, I guess. Or she's very, very smart. So we have these amazing conversations. But probably being raised in our house, my wife is also an artist. She studied illustration in school, and she's just been an artistic person her whole life. And so my daughter and I, we talk about, not every week, but we talk about songs, and we talk about songwriting, and we talk about singers. And I would say she might be more obsessed with that stuff than I am, actually, now that I think of it. But I've always been fascinated by songs and by the writing of them and the people that write them since I was probably 11 years old, 12 years old. And for better or worse, no, it's beautiful. She loves that attention to detail, like she understands there's so much nuance in how you write a line. How do you put those words together? What words are just throwaway words? What lines do you definitely not want to have a throwaway word in? And finding those balances and all the gray area in there, all those choices that get made by writers and singers. We love to dig around in that stuff, and we will do that for 2 hours at a time.
Oh no, stop. Sorry.
Crazy dog.
Well,
that was a dog. I didn't know what that sound was.
That was a dog, yeah. So what's one of yours? Like what's one of your songs that you say, wow, that you've overanalyzed to death and said, how did they put those chords together? How does that, I wish I'd written that.
Oh gosh. To me, probably the most brilliant song I've ever heard. And it's not just the writing, it's the performance and the production, is probably a song by Bruce Cockburn.
Really?
And it's called Isn't That What Friends Are For?
Okay.
And half of it, most of it is spoken. He speaks it, He had that song, If I Had a Rocket Launcher. I don't know if you know who.
Yeah,
Bruce
I know
Cockburn
only a couple
is.
of his songs. Yeah.
So, he's speaking, and then on the chorus is Lucinda Williams I think she's from Austin or Nashville. She comes in and just sings on the chorus. The chorus is just Isn't That What Friends Are For, sung twice the first time, and Isn't That What Friends Are For, I think sung 3 or 4 times the second time. But the words, if you get a chance, check it out. Isn't That What Friends Are For?
Okay, yeah.
It's on a record called Breakfast in somewhere, Dinner in Timbuktu. Breakfast, I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah, Bruce
It's an
Cockburn.
unbelievable song. I actually wrote out all the words the other day because you go look for lyrics online,
Yeah.
and sometimes they get it wrong.
Yeah.
And like I will, and I did just literally within the last week. I was like, I've never really made sure the words are what I think they are, and I just went through, and like, does he say? Is it like the or like sometimes you can't tell at the beginning of a line, and I went through and I really tried to figure it all out, and but that's the song that to me is a masterpiece.
We had some impressions about a couple tracks of yours, like we were talking about Long Gone, and Mark was like, he immediately went Glenn Hughes.
The funkiness.
Yes. Well, that's
Glenn Hughes is the cure to a supergroup. Have you ever noticed if you put Glenn Hughes in your band, it will kick ass? That's not always the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's Jimmy Wallace on clavinet, right? That's like a real clavinet on that one.
Wow, the
and
horns.
Greg, and horns. That's one of those things where we were like, what do we need to do on this song?
Did you just keep adding stuff, or was it that the vision from the beginning, or just kept adding stuff?
We didn't. Our vision was just like our starting point, which was again Allman Brothers, Archangels, Badlands,
right?
King's X, and then we didn't really follow a vision from there. We just kind of followed what felt good. So, we let the songs percolate. We didn't rush any of them. We were in a pandemic. We knew we had time.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any way of selling the record or even printing up CDs, or we didn't know what we were going to do, maybe put it online or something. So, the songs would percolate, and then we'd listen to them and, that's perfect the way it is. Drums, bass, and guitar, let's rock, And then the other songs was like, on that one with that funkiness, it's like, oh man, some horns would be so great in here. Real horns, not synthesizer horns, right? Yeah. So, not that there's anything wrong with that sometimes, but we just really followed our feelings. It's like, this feels good. This feels like it could use another element, and then we talk about it. Who could we call? Who do we want to reach out to?
So awesome. Yeah.
Such a ridiculous way of making a record, And yes, we started out with a vision, but then we realized really quickly, we're not following the vision. That was just our starting point. It's back there. Yeah, exactly. We don't know where we're going. And that's why we were super self-indulgent. And that's why it's like, well, let's put horns on this one. Yeah. I don't know why, because we thought it would feel good. It wasn't like, well, that would fit with our niche and our fans will love this. We didn't have any fans. We're just, So, that's kind of where that comes from.
I wanted to ask you about Lisa Wynn, because I love stuff like Saracen Blade. I have tortured Stace with Misery. There was a time where I was playing that song and singing it on guitar like every night. I don't know what it is about.
Really? Did you learn it? Because it's a little.
Oh yeah. Well, it's probably all fucked up. It's probably not right, but it sounds okay to me.
That's beautiful.
And then you did. Is she the one you did Paranoid with?
Yes. Yeah.
That changed the way I thought about that song for the rest of my life. Like I
played it for me. I
always thought, I thought of that as that's a rockin' party, get the beer out song. And then you did that. And I was like, this song's fucking depressing as hell. Oh my God. Where's the razor blades?
I just did that last night. What was I playing? Oh, the first song I ever learned on guitar was House of the Rising Sun, like a lot of kids, when I was learning the guitar. And I've got my amp set up and guitars around, and I've been kind of rearranging my studio a bit and just trying to clean it up a little bit. And, when I should be cleaning, I'm going to pick up a guitar and start playing. But I had a weird, really grungy tone, like really low and cranky. And then, House of Rising Sun is A minor, C, D, F, A minor, C, G, E major.
Right.
But I started playing this weird, like, diminished 2-finger chords, and it sounded so cool. And then I completely change the melody. It was like almost monotone, almost one note. You know, I could even play it for you, but it was so, I love that. I love doing a different take on a song that I love, you know, on a beloved song. I did that with, I mean, I don't do a ton of covers, but when I do, I tend to mess them up a little bit, you know, because I don't know. I feel like there's all these great songs out there and a lot of people sing them. And I just think, well, maybe I'll show my respect for it by maybe shining my own light on it.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
like that. I like that. Turn it inside out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I love it so much. Not because I think it needs to be improved.
Have you ever heard The Cure do Purple Haze?
No.
Oh yeah, you should look that one
Whoa.
up. It's great. There's an album of Hendrix covers that came out in the early 90s, and most of the rest of it's just like, you know, straight up blues covers. But yeah, the way The Cure, they turn that song inside out. It's great.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's an interesting idea. I bet they do.
Cool. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
That's my rule for covers. If to me to like them, it's got to be their own take. It's got to be different. Like, I really loved the Dead Posies did this great version of Blue Monday. I was like, blew my mind.
Yeah.
Just the way that the Paranoid blew my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, Craig Erickson and Brian Robertson. You worked with both of them. I loved the work you did with both of them. Are you in contact with them, or what was it, you know, like working with them?
I haven't talked to Craig for a long time. You know, we went to Europe twice to play. That's where most of my career's been. And I think it was like, I don't know. I don't think he'd ever been. I don't think he'd ever toured in Europe for sure. I remember, you know, if you're touring in Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium, you know, every place you go, there's these like tight spiral staircases, every hotel, you know, every club. And I remember Craig
there's ice on it. It's even easier to move equipment.
Absolutely.
Right.
But I remember Craig showing up with like giant suitcases, and his drummer had giant suitcases, and his bass player. And like, I'm talking about a suitcase, like if you were moving to France, you would get a suitcase like this. I'm not even joking. I've seen it in airports where there's like a family, and you can tell they're moving here. They're moving to wherever. And they're not like normal suitcases. They're huge. Yeah. And they all had like 2 of those. Now then you didn't pay for luggage, by the way, on the planes. Yeah. So they just brought, I don't know what they brought, but of course I had been over across the Atlantic 7 or 8, 10 times by the time I met him. And I knew you're going to be carrying this stuff up into hotels and venues, you know, 100 times in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. And I don't know, that might have just, I think after that, I don't think he ever wanted to talk to me again. No, I'm just kidding. Because we did make a record after that called Ride.
Yeah, I have.
I don't know if
Juju, was it the Rob Lamothe and not the Juju Hounds? It's you had a name or something.
Yeah, what were they called? The something Brothers.
Something, the Voodoo Brothers?
Voodoo Brothers. Okay, I think that's it. I think so. Which is a bass player and a drummer, like these 2 brilliant dudes. They're amazing.
That's got that song "Walk Away" on it. I love that song.
Oh, yeah. Craig wrote all of those songs, basically, music and lyrics. And probably the reason we didn't work again, because I enjoyed working with him, but he didn't really want to co-write songs, which is fine. But I really wanted to kind of work on some of those songs, and they were really already done for him. He felt like they were done, which is fine also. Yeah. But I was like, oh, I want to write some stuff, you know? So, so we didn't end up working together again, but it was a super fun experience. We recorded it in a barn, and all live. I think that was all live too, now that I think of it. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really
should have been called Absolutely Live, not Ride.
Exactly.
Absolutely Ride.
That's live too. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so you did the song.
Oh, and Brian Robertson.
Well, I was going to say, here's the thing. I saw his name on the back of the CD, and I said to my friend, it can't be that Brian Robertson, because he's obviously dead by now. Because that was way after the drug years. So I was
Oh, yeah.
shocked that that was really him. So what was that like? I mean, we had him
Well,
pronounced
that
dead
was-
in 1999. I mean, so.
Yeah, no, you're not even exaggerating. No. So I have a lot of Brian Robertson stories. I mean, he just loved me. He loved me.
Is that a good thing?
He would, yeah, it was wonderful. But he would cry, like he'd ask me to sing a certain song and then he'd just cry,
Oh my
just
God.
a beautiful, sweet, soul, just a lovely guy. But yeah, he didn't struggle with drugs and alcohol. He lived
Embraced
on
it.
them.
He
Yeah, he
embraced
lived
it.
on them. Yeah, embraced them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't even, is he still alive now? I'm not.
Yeah, there's an interview in Classic Rock last month with they interview him and they interview Scott Gorham separately. So and they're
Oh,
talking
wow.
about making Live and Dangerous. So he's
Holy
still around.
shit.
I don't know what kind of shape he's in or whatever, but he's coherent.
Well, our connection was a guy who was kind of his like manager, handler, dresser, a guy named Soren from Sweden. And that was the person that connected Brian and I. And then we ended up, touring in the Netherlands and Germany, England. We did some shows. I can't remember where else, but yeah, it was, because I haven't seen him for 10 years, but just an amazing guy. And I remember telling people at the time, and including Vivian Campbell, I'm doing some shows in a couple of weeks, and Brian, Robbo's going to be touring with me. And literally people were like, he's still alive? Like people couldn't believe it. And
yeah, right. Vivian's like, that Scottish cunt, is he still around? Is he still alive? He owes me some money. Yeah.
he loved Robbo, of course, but
Well, we all love the records. We all love the records.
yes.
But we didn't have
So
to
I'll
be there
tell-
to make them. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll tell you kind of a funny story. I think it's funny. And of course, people could tell a lot of stories like this about me. But so this is the first time my son Xander came to Europe. He's been a few times now, but the first time I brought him over, he was 14. And I brought him over to do a tour, and it was myself and my friends in a band called Bitter Moon. They were like my touring band in Europe for years. And then a amazing singer, Floor, and Brian Robertson on guitar along with us. Like it was my band. We were like this glorious traveling review. And the first night we did a rehearsal, and I had never rehearsed with this band. I just told them what songs I was going to play. I went to Europe and they were ready to rock.
Wow.
That's without Robbo. But on this tour, we're doing it with Robbo, and we're doing the first rehearsal I've ever done with them all before a tour. And at the end of the night, I didn't see Robbo doing drugs or drinking. I don't think the whole night. I didn't notice it. And at one point, we're kind of in a circle in front of the drums, and Xander was right there always. And he'd play like 2 or 3 songs with us every night. But he was just, he's 14. He was 13 or 14. We had a drummer, but he was like joining in on, playing drums in a couple songs and just learning how to tour in Europe. How does it work? Oh, the staircases are awfully steep. I'm glad you told me to bring just a backpack, Dad.
Yeah.
But so it's the end of the night. We're like, oh, this is going to be such a great tour. The rehearsal went really well. And Robbo asked me if I would play a song of mine called Strongest Man in the World.
Oh, I know that one's about your dad. Yeah.
And it's about my dad. Yeah. And it meant a lot to Robbo. It reminded him so much of his dad. And I knew that from, being friends with him for a few years before that. So I start playing the song, and I step up to the microphone and I start singing. And then I look over at Robbo, and he's just looking at me, and then he just falls forward, just straight forward, face first into a monitor. So we did it. Excuse me. We did a tour, bunch of shows, and he had this big gash like between his eyes, basically, for the whole thing. But he was, maybe he hadn't eaten all day. That's a whole other thing, right? I don't know if the guy eats, but
yeah.
But I love him, like just an amazing experience to get, and on one of what I would say is one of the absolute best records of all time. You know, that was Scott Gorman as well, right? On
Live and Dangerous?
whatever. Armed and Dangerous. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I was thinking Diamonds and Dust. No, Armed and
it's
Dangerous.
Live and Dangerous. And then here's
Live
a good
and
story.
Dangerous. Thank
I
you.
used to have a Motorhead bootleg. I'm kind of obsessed with that period when he was in Motorhead. When him and Lemmy hated each other, and he wouldn't play the old stuff, but somehow they made like a really good record. Another Perfect Day is such a great record, you know. And I can't find it, but Robbo starts playing a song and Lemmy goes, "Playing it by yourself, are you?" It's so great. And he's just like, "Oh, sorry." I wish I could find it. I've been through there's a million and a half Motorhead live albums. I don't know what the hell I did with it. Playing it by yourself. Oh, God.
I was playing once in London at a place called the 12 Bar. I don't know if you've ever been to London, but you kind of
No, I've never been to England. I've been
Oh,
it's on my list. It's on my list.
You got to go. You got to go. It's an amazing cultural experience. But I had there was this place called the 12 Bar. It might still be there. And I played it a bunch of times. And another time, Robbo was getting up to do a little, I think it was Xander and I think we were touring, and it was just me on acoustic guitar and Xander on drums, I think. But Robbo was going to get up and play a song or two with us or whatever. And yeah, he like literally crashed onto the stage, you know, it almost was a bad scene because he had a beautiful Les Paul in his hand at the time, right? So probably a vintage Les Paul, but yeah, just such a sweet guy. Like he's just one of those, to me, kind of a magical dude. And somehow, in a way, it's like it doesn't, you know, against all odds, he's still alive, or he was, and hopefully still is, and hopefully he's happy. But what a lovely man, you know, and just everybody loves him. Everybody, everywhere we went, you know.
Did he ever tell you why did he wear ballerina shoes in Motorhead? What was he thinking? Is it just cocaine, or what was he doing? What's with the red hair and the shorts?
You guys were rebellious.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what would get you to wear those. And he wore those in like rain. I think there was even snow once.
Yeah. In Lemmy's book, he says that he wore that in front of the Hells Angels, and the Hells Angels were like mumbling, "Let's kill Motorhead's new guitarist. He's a cunt." I mean, and Lemmy says, "I talked him out of it." You know, it's crazy.
That's amazing. Those little,
they're very masculine. The Hells Angels. Yeah, they don't want you wearing ballerina slippers. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the ones I'm thinking of is there was no toes. They weren't ballerina slippers. They were like flip flops or like little.
Oh, that's right. I saw that too.
They were plastic. They weren't rubber flip flops or sandals. They were plastic.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question for you. What's your opinion? Should a rock and roll band wear shorts on stage? This is
never.
Okay,
well, shorts.
All right, thank you.
You guys
shorts. I don't know.
We're right there.
I don't think so. Or I mean, I've played a lot of like singer-songwriter music festivals, folk festivals, and I never get it why like dudes that are on stage with like sandals and socks and like cargo shorts. God. I don't know.
It's not rock and roll. This is not a Jimmy Buffett concert, you know?
No, I guess that's the thing. I don't know. Plus, my legs are super skinny, so I probably just don't want to show my legs. That's probably what.
Let me just tell you, you look really great for your age. The hair looks great. You could be, your kids could be calling you Gandalf Lamothe, but you don't look like Gandalf Lamothe. So
I just got called a Wizard of Darkness the other day.
Oh my God.
I play guitar for this amazing artist named Logan Stotts.
Logan, you can tell by Logan that it's a millennial. Logan is a millennial name.
Yeah. Logan. Yeah. He's like 30 something. Yeah,
that's it.
But he has a record coming out March 24th, which I co-produce, and I play guitar in his band, and my son plays drums in his band. So it's like a family affair. We've been playing with him for like 7 years. And his album's called A Light in the Attic. And I think he's using this picture. There's a picture of us up in an attic, actually. We were up there recording this tiny attic with the whole band. And they dropped like a light bulb into the center of the room, and we all kind of, posed looking at the light bulb. But Logan called me He said Rob Lamothe is a wizard of the dark, or of the darkness. I can't remember. So anyway, thanks for that.
No, I think you look great. I think you look great.
Thank you.
He wants your hair, seriously.
Wow, yeah.
I've had short hair for many years.
Dude, I know,
And then-
I know. I was
and
surprised to
then-
see it long. Yeah.
It was the pandemic. I was just like, because there was a minute there where like businesses were shut down up here and all that, and probably down there. And I was like doing all this remote collaboration. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to grow my hair until the pandemic's over and people are still getting sick. So I'm going to keep growing my hair. But no, I didn't know it would get this long. I didn't know it could, to be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't trimmed even a 1/8 of an inch since I started growing it. I've just let it go.
It's a good
Thank
problem
you.
to have, right? I'm
Thank you,
thankful
I
to still have
appreciate it.
any at all, frankly.
Yeah, yours is good. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I just, this is my cosmetologist
But I am
right
thankful.
here. Yeah. So
Oh, perfect.
yeah. So well, Mr. Lamothe, this has been great. As you can tell, this has been I've always wanted to interview you.
All right, so I do
Amazing.
have to tell you one thing.
All right, Stacey.
Mark was driving me in this morning, and he said, how do I tell Rob that his songs got me through a lot of shitty years in the 90s? I said, you just tell him.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you remembered that, Stacey, that you remembered that he said that, if he forgot.
Yeah.
Because I know how that is. Like I could say the same about, the music that I've listened to my entire life, including, in the last couple decades, there's those records that mean as much to me as records meant to me when I was 14 or 18 or 30 or whatever. So I know what that feels like, and I know how important, songs and albums and music is.
You were the go-to for like the periods where I would be sitting around smoking cigarettes, not leaving my house, not putting on clothes,
See,
just feeling like shit. That was
we
Wow.
were together in high school,
yeah.
and then we
Oh.
weren't.
Oh,
And
wow.
We spent 33 years both being miserable separately before we found each other again.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
And that's
Yeah, it's unusual. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story.
It's unbelievable. It's just
It is great. It's fantastic to talk to the two of you tonight. This is really a very sweet conversation. I really appreciate it. And yeah, just thanks for listening to my music. And I'm glad if it's meant something to you, that's amazing. And yeah, wow. Just, I would love to chat again.
Falling on deaf ears.
all right. So this is Deaf Ears 1. Very interesting band, Revolution Saints.
Yep.
This is Eagle Flight. So Revolution Saints have returned. This was a band that was originally a concept of Frontiers president Serafino Perugino.
You want a zucchini, you get a zucchini.
You want a perigo, you get a perigo. Anyway, but he actually, this was his idea, and he built it around the Technicolor vocals of Dean Castronovo, along with Night Ranger's Jack Blades, who we were saying is becoming the Glenn Hughes of supergroups,
Yeah.
and journeyman guitarist Doug Aldrich to round out the lineup in 2015. The band proceeded to drop 3 impressive slabs of melodic hard rock in just a 5-year period. At this point, Aldrich and Blades decided they were doing other projects, and in comes bassist Jeff Pilson. You might know him from Dokken or Foreigner, and guitarist Joel Hoekstra of White Snake and Trans-Siberian Orchestra fame, who both bring their well-honed melodic sensibilities to the Saints' distinctive style of AOR.
We talked about supergroups in other shows, and a lot of them burn out after one good album. But this record proves that not only the band has an amazing staying power, but that Castronovo's considerable talent will not be outdone by personnel changes. It's basically they redid the entire band. Now here's the thing. It was obvious from the first Revolution Saints record that Castronova's 17-year stint with Journey had kind of seeped into his DNA, right?
It's got to rub off a little.
The joke was that they sounded like Journey with balls. And I always kind of attributed that to Dean's vocals and Doug Aldrich's kind of searing guitar playing on the albums. But this album is different. It seems like they've captured this very distinctive phase, harnessing Journey's escape and frontiers era in a modern rock album. I mean, the hooks, the vocals, and song structures are so out of 1983. You're going to be clutching your Cabbage Patch Kids. Okay. The tender piano interludes and soaring vocals and cuts like Once More and Need Each Other, they rival the most karaoke Steve Perry moments, you know.
They're very big tracks.
Yeah. The title track sounds to me like a kind of a reworking of Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. And it's refreshing and upbeat. But the song we're going to play for you is, in my opinion, the best cut on the record. It's deftly riffy. It's called Crime of the Century. It's a chorus that's guaranteed to stick in your craw. It's a perfect song for a Rocky Balboa training montage, actually. So long live Revolution Saints. Let's play it. This is Crime of the Century.
All right. This is Deaf Ears number 2. I will admit that Mark found them, but I have claimed them. I'm totally enamored.
None of you are allowed to listen to them. They're Stacey's band.
I'll share with you.
Okay.
They're called the Hell Freaks, and their new album is Pitch Black Sunset. So this latest slice of insanity that we are bringing you comes from Budapest, Hungary. The Hell Freaks were originally formed.
The Hell Figs were originally very delicious.
Oh, they're figgy pudding.
Okay, sorry.
The Hell Freaks were originally formed as a 4-piece. But when they first started out, they had a little bit of a lot of different sound. They were psychobilly, kind of a horror punk band. This was back in like 2009, and they
complete with stand-up bass and everything. Yeah.
Amazing. I listened to the older stuff. I'm telling you, I like it, but I like the newer stuff a little bit better. But they certainly were strong in the old form too.
They were adorable from the very beginning. They had song titles like Living Dead Cat and Don't Feed the Models. They changed their style to more of a kind of Riot Girl alt metal sound around 2015. And that's a little bit more prevalent on recent records. The vocalist's name, I'm going to get wrong. Zuzia Radnati. We just call her Shaky Sue. She proves that she's got quite the vocal talents, and she screams and croons and hisses all over these 9 new tracks. They're all packed with punk sneer and lots of pop hooks.
And lots of clean and growly vocals, which, as we all know, I'm a huge fan of.
Oh, yeah.
So we've come a long way from rockabilly at this point. The cut Hits Me Where It Hurts is a scream-driven, brass-knuckle smash of a song. It's infused with low-tuned riffing and some industrial elements as well, so it's a really interesting blend.
Fits right in with like Motive Black, type of thing. We've also featured on the show because we rule.
Or As Everything Unfolds.
Yes, exactly.
The slow burner for me here was Weeping Willow. If you haven't checked out the video, wow, did this woman spend a lot of time in milk and blood.
Yeah.
With scary
good for your skin.
Creatures behind her.
Good for your complexion.
But it definitely mines 9 Inch Nails territory. Sue purring lines like, "No dove would find me so low, silence, and sent me a crow."
Silence and send me a zucchini. I like the ripper that we're going to play now, Body Bag. I think it's the shining star of the record. The drummer's name is Bela Boudet. He smashes everything in sight until the song backs into a luscious chorus. Is she perhaps the Hungarian Avril Lavigne? You decide. This is a song from the Hell Freaks called Body Bag.
Love them, and that album had a lot of like what they said were like mental health related songs. Like it's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to ask for help, and a lot of psychosis too, perhaps. All right, moving on. This is Deaf Ears number 3, Covet, with their album latest, Catharsis.
Yeah.
This is Yvette Young. She returns with another fresh, daring guitar record. This is the latest instrumental offering.
It's mostly instrumental.
Yes, mostly.
There's one song called Coronal, and it's kind of shoegazy, and she does sing on that.
But it's packed with kind of short songs that zig and zag in Young's distinctly jaunty, effervescent style.
I mean, I've heard a lot of guitar music in my life, and no matter how much of that you've been subjected to, Covet is always worth a listen. Because her style is just bell-like chimes, odd scale attacks that always sound majestic and upbeat, and she does these jaw-dropping fretboard runs that act as springboards to push the songs into the next phase.
They actually have quite a discography, and all the album covers, usually I believe all of them are one word. Yeah. They're really trippy and colorful. Julia did all those as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Good for vinyl. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too guitar geeky here, but she's pretty much a goddess, Plus, she's packed by a peerless ensemble that includes jazzy fills from Forrest Rice and Jessica Burdex, plus the warm bass noodling of John Button. Catharsis is another jewel of quirky, distinctive virtuosity.
Young can really take a listener away like a fever dream and make it sound effortless.
Yeah.
The warm melodic blues, blends, and harmonics of Love Spell just absolutely shimmer beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Merlin's Toys with an odd meter from Rice. It's a little bit more of a layered affair, and it actually has, I think, some jazz overtones and even some more angular power chords thrown into the mix.
She has a Super Bowl commercial.
Wow.
I think she did like an Apple Super Bowl commercial.
I can believe that.
Yeah. For me, the takeaway killer that we're going to play for you is the funky, wrist-blurring blues of a song called Firebird. It's just pure magic. It reminds me a lot of Eric Johnson in his tone and style. I mean, this woman can play a guitar, people. So get over to Covet's Bandcamp page and let her psychedelic fairy dust dislodge your earwax. This is Firebird. Well, this one went quickly. It's almost like we know what we're doing or something. We talked about parades. Let's not talk about them anymore.
In this day and age of phones and attention spans waning, I think they're probably on their way out.
We went through the colors, talked about why green is such a convoluted concept.
And red, even maybe possibly more so.
Stacey taught you about the Moors murderers. Don't you feel fulfilled?
Yeah, I might have to investigate them a little more. We conjured Polly Shore quite to our
Don't remind me.
distaste.
Don't remind me.
This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Thanks again to Frontiers Records and Rob Lamothe for such a great interview. And we meant what we said, Rob. Your songs continue to touch us and affect us and make us happy. The Snaggletooth theme, courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs, who also makes us happy every day. Deaf Ears theme, written by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Gosh, we love so many of you. Deaf Ears bands, check them out. Covet, Hell Freaks, and Revolution Saints. Get over to Bandcamp, get over to Spotify. All content 2023, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
To jump to conclusions, Matt.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.